we are going to continue with our graphing. This time we're going to do some linear regression. So it's going to be very similar to what you just did this past week with the scatter plots. We just got a few more extra steps that I want to walk you through and just make sure everybody understands exactly what's going on. So I will share my screen and we'll go ahead and get started. So you're going to be using the Vernier system today. So just like last week, or this week rather, last week we used Vernier for pH probes. This time we're going to be using Vernier to look at CO2 and O2 concentrations. So I'm just pretending like I ran this. I stopped it at 300 seconds. So the data is done. You've collected the data. The next thing you want to do is go up here to where it says untitled and drop down and you want to hit export. So we want to export this data. Now, the Vernier makes the graph for you, but we want to add to this graph. We want to see that you can make this graph. So what you need to do is you need to export it as a CSV. So as a CSV, you want to make sure it's in decimal format and you just want to hit save CSV. Now, what you want to do is just drop it onto the desktop of this computer. So you just click desktop. Now, you'll notice when you're running this, you're going to be running it using cold beans, and then you're going to be using room temperature beans. I've already ran it twice so that I have some data. So just you would name this whatever you want to. I would recommend naming it cold or room temperature, and then just hit save. We don't want that. Then just hit save and it will drop it here onto your desktop. Now, also remember, all your lab mates need to be need this data. So I'm going to show you how to share this data with your lab mates. So you're going to open this file, and it's going to look like Excel, but it's not Excel. It's in a CSV format. So you want to hit convert here, and that because if you don't, you'll just get tons of numbers over here. Now, this time, this is our cold data set. If you just come over here to the right and hit share and then share again, you'll be whoever has logged into the computer will be logged into their OneDrive. So you just click that and you'll get this option, and then you'll just email it to whoever it needs to go to. So I have all these people in my directory. You would click all of them, or you would type in their email addresses and you would send them the data. Now they have it. If for whatever reason you don't want to do it that way, you can open your email and you can attach these as files and email them that way, whatever works best for you. If you want to use a thumb drive and stick it in the computer to get them the information, that's fine. But I find that this share option works pretty well. So now you're going to have your cold data set up. Now notice something in here, this stuff isn't making a whole lot of sense. So let's rename it. So this first set right here, that's our seconds. So we'll just rename this to seconds. And if we look here and click this, we got some stuff. And what has happened was the CSV gets a little confused on what this is, but this is our O2. So this is going to be, and we're in our cold file. So we'll just do cold O2. Oh, cold O2. And then this here is CO. You can kind of see it here, but instead of 2, it puts that A there. We're going to do cold CO2. So now we have our cold O2, our cold CO2, our consumption and our production rates of those. Now, this is what I would do. Once again, there's multiple ways to skin a cat. This just seems to work best for me. So if you come over here and open the room temperature, and we'll convert that as well, you'll see same thing. Let's rename these to seconds. And then we'll rename this to, I'm just going to do RT O2. So this is room temperature O2. And then this right here is our CO2. Once again, it's messed up. Room temperature CO2. Now notice room temperature here goes along with room temperature there. So everything's the same. So what I would do is I would copy all this data right here. So if you just select it all from here and hit, you can right click and hit copy. or you can hit Control C, however you want to do it, and then open up your cold data set. And then come over here. Let's give ourselves a little bit of room and go to E and right click. And we want to right click and paste in our values right here. So now we're all on one spreadsheet. We have our seconds, which correspond with one another. We have our cold O2 and our cold CO2, our room temperature O2 and our room temperature CO2. Now, if you look at the lab report, you're going to have to create two graphs. And on those two the CO2 graph and then a O2 graph. So room temperature and cold O2 is going to be on the same graph, and room temperature and cold CO2 are going to be on a separate graph. And then you're also going to have to add some data to it, but we'll get to that later. So what I would do is I would start rearranging some of this stuff so it makes sense. So let's put our CO2s together. So if you come over here and hit C, it'll select that whole row. Come to the top until you get that four-way cross, and now you can grab this and move it around. Move it wherever you want to. And then we can grab this O2 from here and move it here. So now we have cold O2, room temperature O2. Perfect. Our O2s are together. And then over here, we have room temperature CO2 and cold CO2. Now, I want you to notice these numbers are just made up because I didn't actually put beans in there. I actually just breathed in it and then sealed it up. So these numbers are not going to match your numbers, but that's okay. So we have our room temperature and our cold CO2 here. Let's put O, so we're just let's rearrange these and move this one over here. Just so cold is here, room temperature is here, cold is here, room temperature is here. Now we have all of our data kind of lined up where we wanted it. Now, once again, if you feel comfortable making the graphs from this Excel, that's totally fine. Do your thing. If not, come over here and select all this data. Now that it's arranged properly, right click and hit copy. Now, if you recall, if you go to your Statesman Mail, open up your Statesman Mail from RBC, you'll get something that looks like this. Go over to these 9 circles, and then you'll click workbook here, and it will open up the free Excel. Then this is the Excel that you can access from home. Now that you have this access from home or from wherever, come over here, right click, you can and paste this information in. Maybe. Seems to be thinking pretty hard. Oh, there it is. So once it's pasted in, it may take a moment, maybe be a little bit more patient than me. Now you have all your information here. So we have our seconds, our cold O2, our room temperature O2, and then our CO2. So you're going to make two different graphs. I'm just going to make one just for the sake of argument, just to make things easier. But you'll do what I'm doing twice. So the easiest thing to do is come over here, click off the data, go to insert. Now remember, this is continuous data. Seconds can go on forever. So we know this is going to be a scatter plot, not categorical data. So it's not going to be a bar graph. Come over here. We're going to hit this little drop down arrow and we're going to pick this scatter plot here. Now, what it's asking, let's move this. You don't need to see me right this second. Now, only thing you have to do is come over here and select all this data right here. It's asking you, where's the data for this chart? So the data for this chart is going to be this one right here. So we're going to select all this data all the way down to, in this case, to 300 seconds. And then you're just going to hit apply. You hit apply, and this thing made the graph for you. Now, yours is not going to look like this. Mine looks screwed up because I didn't actually put beans in here. But we have our blue line as our cold O2. We have our orange line as our room temperature O2. Right over here, we need to add some things. We need to put in a chart title, which we should know how to do at this point. All right, so this is whatever, O2 levels of room temperature, room temperature versus lower versus cold beads. Yeah, something like that. We need to add our label over here, right? So we come up here to chart and we come over to axes titles. We can change this one here And in this case, this is parts per thousand. So our graph is almost there. Now, this is the part that differs from the other graphs that you've made. We've got to add our y equals mx plus b. Now, why add a y equals mx plus b? What can we do with that? What we can do is we can forecast. We can predict what our concentrations are going to be way into the future. In this case, we only went to 300 seconds. Well, speaking of that, let's add that on here. This is seconds. Now, if I ask you, what's it going to be at 1,000 seconds or 10,000 seconds, right? Well, if we have that y equals mx plus b, we can figure that out. So if you come over here and click the blue line and right click, you can go to and click add trend line. Now it's going to add a trend line on there, and it's always going to be linear, and that's what we want for the purposes of this class. And do the same thing with this one, add trend line. All right, so now our trend lines are on there. Now, what can we do with this information? I'm going to move my face over here. With our chart information still up here, go to format. Now, if you've got it, now if you lost this for whatever reason, it's okay. Highlight the chart, click chart, and go to select data. And we're right back here. We want to go to format. All right, now we got all these options of format. We want to format our cold. So hit our drop down arrow. And if we come down here, we have our trend line. There's our trend line. It's turned on. So you don't have to right click and go to trend line. You can do that from here as well if you want. Hit this little arrow right here, and now you get some more options. And we want to scroll all the way down, and we want to turn on equation and value, and we want to display R square value. So boom, there it is. There's that information we need. Now we can hit our up arrow here. Well, if we want to, and close this just to make things, well, maybe we can't, to make things a little bit more simpler or to, clean things up. But go down here to room temperature O2, hit that little arrow, come down here, trend line is turned on, hit that little arrow, keep coming, keep coming. Equations and values, we want to turn them on, and we want to display our R square value, and we display our Y equals mx plus b. Our R square value is showing us how well we can predict. What's the predictability power of our y equals mx plus b? It's on a scale from 0 to 1. 0 meaning it does not predict well. 1 meaning you have 100% prediction. Now, for the purposes of this class, one way to interpret this is with this one right here having an R square value, our blue one, our cold, of 0.8. That basically means with about 80% accuracy, we can predict concentration in parts per thousand at any given time. So we're about 85% accurate with that. Our seconds can predict our parts per thousand. Now, our graph is done, and you're going to have to make this graph again, and you're going to have to import this graph to Canvas. You're actually going to have to add some more data to this. Only thing you would have to do is add it right here. We'll give it to you in Canvas. You add it right here, and you'll select all of the data. You'll select that as well, and it'll drop that line on here. You'll do exactly what we did, just a third time. Now, I'm going to delete these lines out of here just to clean it up a little bit, give ourselves a little bit more room. And we can zoom in on this guy, look at it a little bit more. But we have, and we should be able to, oh, well, I'm having a little trouble there. Maybe somebody help me out. We should be able to move that, but it's okay. We have our formulas here. And what we can do with those formulas is we can predict what a concentration will be at a certain X. So if you come over and click in one of these boxes and do equals, it doesn't matter which cell you're in, and we'll just take any of these formulas. We can do this one right here. So we'll do equals, and we'll do, this is in scientific notation. So it's 5e. So we have to move our decimal point 5 times to the right. So 0.000, so 0.5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's what that says, X. So I say, I want to know what is the value, how many parts per thousand of oxygen will there be at 1,000 seconds? So you'll just do shift 8 times 1,000. So we got that part of the equation right there, plus, plus 18.177, and it equals, so we predict at 1,000, our concentrate, or at 1,000 seconds, our parts per thousand, giving our room temperature beans, O2 level will be 18 parts per thousand given this. And we can say with about 95% accuracy that that's true. So that'll help you answer another question in the lab report. Now it's going to come time that you have to put this in as a picture, right? You're going to make two graphs. The easiest way, and what I find to be the easiest way, and you may have, once again, there's different ways to skin a cat. If you come down here and type in snipping tool, you have this app right here called Snipping Tool. Just click it, and we're going to come over here and we'll click New. And now you'll select your graph right here. Don't put a bunch of information in there that we don't need. We just give us the information we need. Boom, there it is. Now you can file, you can save it if you want, you can copy it, and you should be able to paste it directly into Canvas, or you could just copy and paste this into a Word document, upload the Word document. But remember, you'll have two graphs, an O2 and a CO2. You have three lines. Two of the lines are the data collected. The third line is information we're going to give you. And then we're going to ask you to predict. The way you predict is using these y equals mx plus b equations. This is an easy way to get it into Canvas. If you got other ways, hey, that's great. Once again, you can share with your lab mates however you feel the best way, whatever works best for you. That's great. If you got any questions, please don't hesitate to ask your professor or ask me. And I hope that helps.